Good morning, good morning. It is another episode of the Early Birds podcast, and we are here on a Saturday, bright and early, with our special guest, Ashley Oshinsky, who is the principal broker for Higher Living Real Estate. How are you this morning?
I'm great.
Thank you so much for being here bright and early.
Thanks for having me.
Of course. You know, the thing about you that I loved when you and I were emailing back and forth is what we're going to talk about today, which is basically women in leadership, women in the real estate industry, but you talking about your kids, right? And sometimes you hear people talk about, oh, I have the kids, maybe I can't do this, maybe I can't do that. But for you, you were like, hey, John, would love to do it, would love to be a part of it. Can we do it on a Saturday? And I replied with absolutely. And I'd like to talk to you a bit about what it's like to manage and maintain being a broker and having children, plus being a wife and everything else that you do. What is that like to get your day going?
It's a lot. It's a lot. But, I've really had to reconfigure my life since having kids.
Okay.
I used to be an early bird.
Mm-hmm.
I'd get up, I'd go to the gym, I'd get my day started at 6 a.m. And I can't do that anymore with kids. So my mornings look a little different now.
Okay.
I wake up and I journal. That's the first thing I do in the morning. That's part of my mindset routine.
Okay.
And it just really helps me set the day off on the right foot.
Okay.
Because if I'm feeling like crap, I'm going to be mean to my kids. I'm not going to be nice to people I talk to. And it's not going to start the day off on the right foot. So I spend about 10 minutes every morning journaling. And then it's time to be a mom. I really compartmentalize as much as possible. So sometimes it's momming, and sometimes it's being a broker, and sometimes it's being a broker while holding a kid and feeding them a snack or something to just keep them in good behavior while I can finish a phone call.
100%, and I love that too, especially changing that mindset. You told me you've been doing this for 10 years.
Yeah.
Obviously been in the industry, had kids recently.
Yeah.
And your biggest thing you're talking about is okay, how do I shift my mindset to where I am going to still have my career, I am going to still be a mother, I am going to still be a wife, I am going to still accomplish everything that I want to accomplish. How did you get yourself in that mindset? And let me ask you this, did you always have that mindset, or after you were having the kids, were you like, oh my gosh, I got to figure something out because I want to do more than just, be here. I want to do everything.
Yeah, I love being a mom. It's the greatest thing ever, but I've always known I wanted to be a career woman. I grew up with a divorced family, and my dad was the breadwinner. So when my parents got divorced, my mom didn't really have a career and a means to really support us in the way that we were used to. And that's kind of when I made the decision that, I'm going to be an independent woman. I'm going to set that example for my kids and my community. And so that's kind of where I decided that having a career was very important to me. There's nothing wrong with people that decide to stay home and that's a full-time job. Don't get me wrong. My house is a freaking mess right now because it's either fold the laundry or respond to the emails and take care of my clients, So it has to be prioritizing the things.
It's action-packed. My mom was a stay-at-home mom. Love you, Mom. Love you. Thank you for everything that you did.
Yeah, I love you, Mom, too.
Yeah, she was a stay-at-home mom herself,
Yeah.
right? But what's crazy? As we got older, I can see her start to go, okay, my kids are getting older. I want to still have that purpose, right?
Yeah.
And now she's working. She does a great job. She's a manager at this restaurant that she
her.
absolutely loves. But she built it's like a second career, right?
Yeah.
Where in your case, you're like, all right, I can figure out both. And the reason I ask you that is for the women that watch the show, the empowerment behind it, where they're like, hey, I do want to be a mother, but I also want to have a job, a career that people know me separately as opposed to just that mother side of me. What do you say to empower, women like that want to get into both of those fields?
So you don't have to. I was talking to these high school kids about this week, that you don't have to ask for permission to do both. There's not a rule, saying that you have to choose. You're going to have to balance. You're going to have to prioritize. Things are going to look different than they did before when it was just you and your career, but it's doable. And honestly, this is going to sound kind of left field here, but asking for help. I feel so empowered that I'm able to say, hey, Mom, I need you to come over and watch the kids because I'm overwhelmed right now and I have work I need to do. Asking for support is actually very empowering. The thought that we can do it all ourselves just causes more stress.
God, I'm so, I got goosebumps. And the reason I got goosebumps is what you said is the permission piece.
Yeah.
So, I was talking about my mentor earlier.
Yeah.
And one of the things he used to say is, he said, you need to create permission for everybody else. And what he meant by that is, okay, the way things were built, right? When someone says, oh, you can't run a mile in under 4 minutes, and then somebody does it, right?
Yeah.
You gave everybody else permission to do it.
Exactly.
And that's what you said is what struck me so hard, where it's like you telling them you don't need to ask for permission. Be the one that sets that example and give others permission to do it, as opposed to the society telling you that, oh, no, if you're going to do this, you have to stick to this. Why? Why do I have to do that? And to hear you say that permission gave me goosebumps that I can't even describe to you right now, because it's literally something we've been talking about with his message. We just shared it like 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
And gosh, that's such a great, great feeling. How do you give people permission? How do you set that standard?
Just by showing up. I mean, like, I have a daughter now. She's 6 months. And it's like, for me, setting an example for my kids that, I saw like an Instagram post of like, I think the person was kidding, but it really made me mad. It was like a woman should embrace her traditional roles of like cooking and cleaning and maintaining a house. And it really offended me, because now being a mom and running a business, it's like my capacity has doubled. And no offense, but, women can do a lot more. We can carry a lot on our plate. So I think just showing up and doing your thing, like, you don't have to
wait for anybody.
Yeah, wait for anybody. And so one thing I wanted to share with you that was just top of mind is my grandma. She's 81 years old, and she did hair till she was 79 years old. Because I feel like as women and as just human beings, we want to have a purpose. And I think it kept her so young and so like just with a passion to live, because she had a reason behind it. So I know my time will come where my kids don't need me anymore. And then where is my space in the world?
So let me tell you one thing. You'll never offend me with that. And the reason why is I'm a mama's boy. I'm not going to lie. Okay, I've accepted who I am as a human. I mean, my mom is my world. To me, she always has been. Love you too, Dad. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
But my mom is absolutely my world. So you'll never offend me with that, because I've seen what she's capable of.
Yeah.
And to what you just said, the purpose is what people miss so often. Having that real, like, long-term purpose, because you're right. Kids do get older. I'm older now, right? I don't depend on my mom as much.
Yeah.
And to watch her, for my mom specifically, after we got older, now she's running that job that I was telling you about. I get to see her purpose continue, where what you're doing now is you're saying, okay, I'm going to do both of this. I'm going to have my purpose as a mother. And like you said, it's the greatest feeling for you. Love it. You're a huge fan. But you also said, right? You also said, I'm not going to stop building my career. Now, you were mentioning earlier when you got your broker license. Can you tell us a little bit about that story? Yeah,
so I was pretty pregnant. I showed up in the class and everyone was like, I'm like, I'm pregnant, not fat, just pregnant, But it felt uncomfortable, because I think society has this picture of like pregnant women shouldn't be doing anything, outside of relaxing and putting her feet up. But I was in that class on my due date, because my babies come late.
Okay.
So I had to make up a class. So I was in class on June 4th with my feet up on a chair, but I was there. And I just decided, you know what, like, busy is busy. I'm growing a human. I have a 2-year-old running around at home. How much busier am I going to get, right?
That is, I'm mind blown, to be completely honest with you, just thinking about you in that class with your feet up on the table. And you were talking about society gives you that kind of impression. Were you getting like evil eyes? Were you getting some weird looks?
Yeah, I mean, I had some serious moments of doubt. I mean, I had a couple clients just ghost me when they found out I was pregnant. Because it's just, it is what it is, but.
How do you get through that mindset? And what would you say to other women out there that when they feel that kind of pressure, I don't want to use the word that like it breaks them, but maybe they don't have that same fortitude just yet that you created for yourself internally.
Yeah.
What do you say to them?
Well, when it comes to like a client firing you, like they're just not your people. It's just not in alignment. You know, like that's it. Took a long time to get there.
Where do you start to get there?
Just getting really clear on like what your values are and what you want. One of my core values for my company is growth. And I always want to be in the growth mindset because I owe it to myself, I owe it to my family, I owe it to my clients to just never be stuck in this one place, right? So I think I kind of went off topic, but I think it's important to just find a mentor, find a coach, find a podcast, find a book, something that, you know, inspires you to just start thinking a little bit bigger.
You talked about the coach previously. You and I were touching base on that. Well, how did that all start, and what's that relationship like?
So I was in property management. After getting my real estate license, I worked in property management for like 7 years, and I was just so ready to start selling real estate full time. I didn't want to join a big team. I've just always been like, I want to be a boss. I want to be the owner of my company. And I found my coach online. She retargeted me.
Oh, we'll talk about that in a second.
Yeah. So she retargeted me, and like I didn't have the money to invest in the program. I was like, you know, but I just kept feeling like I needed to do it. So I did it. And I've been working with her for like almost 4 years.
Wow.
And now I'm in like her higher level program.
What do you guys, what's if you don't mind,
Yeah.
and you don't have to share, but if you can.
No, I can.
What's like one of the things that you guys are talking about right now? Like what's kind of been the message the last couple of weeks?
So my pillar right now that, because it's not just her, it's a whole team of coaches, is mindset for me, especially because we're in this shifting market. Focusing on the good is something that we've been really talking about. So like what's going good, right? What can we make? Because our job as realtors, as lenders, is to help our clients feel comfortable regardless of what's going on out there. So focusing on what's good. Like my cat had fleas this week, okay? And we had to clean the whole house, and it was like a huge inconvenience. And I had a coaching call that day, and he's like, okay, so what's good about that? I'm like, my house is going to be very clean for the holidays. You know what I mean?
Silver lining.
Yeah. So we're focusing on mindset because any high-level achiever is working on their mindset, and that's like 90% of the game.
You're not, it's the truest thing in the world. And, you know, the thing I tell people is I said, you know what's super easy? To be negative. It's the easiest thing in the world to be. You and I could sit down right now, and we can go on for an hour about things that we hate. You know what's difficult? Focusing on the positive, because that's not what your brain does. Your brain automatically goes to say, oh, woe is me. Here's what's going wrong in my life. And to flip that mindset to go, you know what? Actually, the whole entire house is going to be clean for the holidays. Like, yes, the cat has fleas, but here's the silver lining. And there's a story I want to share with you really, really quick. So at my previous employer, I used to be part of these big like meetings. And with the big meetings, we had the chief revenue officer who used to run the meetings.
Okay.
And so I was always so like interested, right? I would always go to the meeting, super pumped. I was like, I'm going to impress this guy. He's going to know who John Haddad is. I can't wait to show him like how great I am. And so those meetings would go on for a couple months. Well, he got busier and busier and busier. And so what happened is he transitioned somebody else in to take on his role. So when this person transitioned in to take on the role, I started going to the meetings, and guess what? My excitement levels drifted all the way down. And now I'm like, what am I doing in here? Why am I here? You know, I'm not going to learn from this person. What the hell's going on? Yeah. So I went back to my leader, and I looked at my leader, and he would always ask me how it went. So now when he asked me how it went, I would say, oh my God, it was terrible. What a crappy meeting. I learned nothing from this meeting. Like, I can't believe it's a waste of time. You got to get me out of it. He looks at me and he says, John? I said, yeah, what's up? He said, listen, moving forward, I'm going to keep asking you how it's going, but I have one request from you. All you can do is tell me one thing that you learned, and you cannot tell me anything else. And this is a guy I respected a lot, right? So to hear it from him, I said, no problem. So the next meeting I went to, it went the same way in my head mentally, and then I went back to his desk, and he said, how did the meeting go? And I looked, and I went to go tell him like everything negative, and I said, here's what I learned from that meeting. And he smiled and he said, great, have an awesome day. And then I went on with my day. And then every meeting we kept doing the same thing. And now my whole mindset has changed, to your point, where all I'm doing is when I go into these meetings, even if I'm not learning the whole hour or half hour, just find one damn thing that I can latch. Who am I to sit there and tell myself, oh, I'm not going to learn anything from this person? That's so ignorant to think like that.
Yeah.
What do you say to those people that have that ignorant mindset? And what I mean by that is when you walk into a room right now and you go in and it happens to be a more of a male-dominated industry, and you have some ignorant men out there, unfortunately. I happen to be one of them right back in the day like an idiot. What do you say to them when you walk into that room? How do you set yourself apart?
So it's unfortunate that we even as women have to
have this conversation,
have to kind of have this mindset. But so I was in a women in business panel at my old high school down the road last week. And this question came up. How do we handle this male-dominated fields? And for me, I think it's having a balance of like emotional regulation, because I've been married for 5 years and with my husband for 12. I know how he reacts when I'm overly emotional. So, I like to just be as even keel as possible and be confident. Again, like I don't have to ask for permission. And another thing that really gets me is when women apologize all the time. Like, oh, I'm so sorry for being extra. Or, I'm so sorry for this or that. Like if a male were to do that, they would not apologize. And frankly, a lot of men are a little bit, how do I say this? A little.
Say it. Rip it off.
They can be a dick.
Yeah.
and there's no apology needed. But if we have a little bit of sass, it's like, oh, there she goes, being a bitch again. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Sorry for swearing on the pod.
Please,
but
I love it.
Again, just being unapologetic. There's going to be people that are going to have their opinions. They're going to act the way they act, and that's them. I've just had to separate myself from people's reaction to me. It's not a me thing. It's a them thing.
100%.
And that's it. I mean, I don't have it all figured out.
No, of course.
But this is the best I got.
And that's what I love. It's like it's the best I got, right? It's the best I got, not what you got. Yeah. I'm not thinking about you. I'm thinking about myself and what's in my mindset and what I want to accomplish. And as society, the problem lately, at least from what I see, is to your point. It's like you have other people that are constantly criticizing and questioning, and as human nature, what do? We listen sometimes to those criticisms, right? And you're like, oh, maybe they're right. Maybe they're right, when in reality they're not. Yeah. And you've been in the spot. You're fortunate to where you have those coaches and the mindset, and you're so like strong-minded that you're going to be able to teach your children that about people, right?
Yeah.
Hey, get that out of your head. So what would you say to young women that right now, where they're maybe getting that critiquing and that criticism, how do you tell them to fight through that?
So I struggle a lot with imposter syndrome. Like, am I good enough? Like, how dare I be successful? Because I'm not where I want to be in my business. I'm taking deliberate steps every day to get there. But I've had to really put my blinders on when it comes to comparison. So we're all on social media so much. I've had to unfollow a lot of agents because it doesn't help my mental health seeing what they are doing, what they have, and then I compare it to myself. I'm guilty of it. And I think for young women in any industry, in any point in their life, comparing yourself to somebody else on social media, you're only seeing their highlight reel.
Wow.
And it's not good. It's not good for the mental health.
The honesty behind what you said is something that is thank you so much for sharing that, because you're so right from the mental health perspective. Like sometimes you do have to be okay disconnecting and being honest with yourself, where you're like, you know what? I can't follow this person right now. And that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. And people think like, oh, I'm hating. No, you're not. I'm trying to get my mind right. Okay. I'm not worried about you. I'm trying to get my mind right. And this is what I need to do to get my mind right. And that's what I try to tell people all the time. You got to be comfortable with yourself. And it's hard.
Yeah.
Especially nowadays. It's so hard to be comfortable with yourself, because we are humans and we do compare to what somebody else has all the time.
Exactly.
But I want to shift this a little bit, and,
Okay.
and I want to talk a little bit about the business itself
Yeah.
and how you've grown it. And we talked about retargeting earlier. You talked about your coach now.
Yeah.
You got retargeted, but you've built a platform where you are leveraging social media to target a certain audience.
Yes.
And you talked about your mission statement. So I'd love for you to share the mission statement first, and then talk about how you're getting into the field that you're getting into using social media to retarget certain clients.
Yeah, so my mission statement is using my alignment method. I help growing households in Metro Detroit buy or build their dream home. So I have a growing family, and I want to work with other families that are in the same position as me. We bought our starter home thinking this is going to be plenty of space, and then we have toys, and my son is obsessed with monster trucks, and they're everywhere. And it made me realize, okay, we don't have enough space in our starter home, and there's so many other families that are like this, right? We're making our way into like a higher income bracket so we can afford something nice, and I have a lot of background in new builds. So I'm able to help this group of people in a way where that's just my dedication. Not that I don't help first-time buyers or downsizers, but I learned from my coaches that if I'm not speaking to somebody, I'm speaking to nobody. So that's
Can you say that again one more time?
So if you're not speaking to somebody, you're speaking to nobody. And I think that's just where we get it wrong in the industry as a whole. Realtors are speaking to other realtors instead of to their ideal client, and it's just going on deaf ears. I'm going to get a lot of shit for what I'm about to say now.
I'm ready.
Like just sold, just listed. Nobody gives a shit. Nobody gives a shit about that. Like, let's talk to the people that we can help, and let's let them know how we can help. That's like the biggest thing I learned through my coaching.
So the mission statement's crazy. So,
yeah.
And like you said, it's not like you don't help first-time home buyers. It's not like you have people that are downsizing. But for you, the audience that you want to captivate actually correlates to, guess what? Your life, right?
Yeah.
And that's why you're like, okay,
yeah,
this is who I am as a human being.
Yep.
And this is what I want to help. It's these clientele. So you said you have a background in new builds.
Yes.
How does that conversation start, for example? So if you are, we'll get into the retargeting here shortly.
Yeah.
So let's just say I'm one of those clients that falls into your mission statement, and you and I connect because you share with me your story and your background. I'm like, oh my God, that's exactly me right now. I'm got a growing family. I want to get into a home. So how does that conversation start?
Well, conversation starts in a lot of different ways, right? But my alignment method is my methodology to help these growing families. So the first thing I do is I have a intro conversation. Like, I'm never going to just go show somebody a house without knowing what their vision is for their future. Because if I don't know what they need, I won't be able to give them what they need. So that's the first step, is just getting to know them. I'm giving away so many of my secrets.
Yeah, if you don't want to, we can go on. Don't worry.
No. You know what? Because honestly, like, there's Lowe's, Home Depot, and Menards all like right next to each other. Yep. Like, I'm all about like collaborating, building bridges with other agents. So I learned in my sales training that the best conversions happen when you ask, I think, 72 questions.
Wow.
So like a lot of agents go and they talk at their potential clients. But really, I want to listen, and I want to hear, like, what do they need? And I want to ask them as many questions as possible.
How did you learn to be so patient? Because we live in a society that's instant gratification, right? We want it now. We want it to close now. We want to get our commission check now. We got to get going, right?
Yeah.
But what you're telling me is like, okay, it's that patience piece which has allowed you to start building the business that you want to build. How on earth did you change your mindset to go from instant gratification to, you know what? I want to understand. I want to get to know. I want to build a relationship, not a transaction.
Yeah.
How do you change that mindset into what you have now?
Well, it really ticks me when agents refer to their clients as deals and transactions, because it's like we're dealing with people's lives here, number one. But I grew up around yoga. I went to yoga teacher training in my early 20s, and I taught yoga for many years. And yoga is a slow, like, introspective practice. And then having to teach yoga and like tell people lift your left hand and everyone lifts their right hand, like, it just gave me so much insight in like how disconnected we all are, like, in general. And then having two children, also has helped me become very patient.
Mm-hmm.
And then also just like, I graduated high school in 2007. Like I had a cell phone, but there was no like social media or anything.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm glad that I kind of grew up in the slower times.
Yeah, we missed that train. I was 2009.
Yeah.
So I was like kind of right teeter-totting. Like I don't think I had a Facebook till after high school.
Yes.
To your point, where it was starting to like get big and big and big.
Yeah.
But for me, it took me a long time to change it because I was, when I turned 21, I got into the industry, and it was just that instant gratification. I didn't have money, and so now I'm starting to run into it. And so the last 4 years, I've had to start shifting my mindset and go, okay, like we're trying to build an empire, to your point, right? You have a company you're trying to build. It's not happening overnight.
No.
As much as I want it to, internally, I realized after 6 months, like, all right, this isn't going to blow up tomorrow. Like I have to accept that. And that's part of the things that, obviously you've accepted. So we're one of the things I want to talk to you about as we get closer to the end of this.
Yeah.
You said you graduated in 2007.
Yeah.
So let me ask you this question. What would you tell an 18-year-old you today, going back? What would you tell that woman that's growing up, that's getting ready to take on life in this journey? What would you say to her?
Just have more confidence in yourself. I did so many things to feel like better about myself when it was just like, it's such an internal thing. And I spent so many years externally looking for the answer, so many years looking for the answer. And, and through my yoga and through just like life lessons, I've learned that it's just like, it's all me.
It really is. It's all so internal all the time. And one of the things I want to touch base on is the targeting, if that's okay, before we close out on this.
Uh-huh.
But from the targeting perspective, so basically what your goal is to accomplish with it is you're looking for like a niche type of clientele.
Mm-hmm.
And what you do is through Facebook, and you'll basically target based off of like their experiences, their past, for you to start connecting with this person. Where did that even start? How'd you even think to go down that route?
My coaches.
Wow. Okay. So they're helping out.
Not, like, shout out to them, but they take a very. So I have to credit my coach, Jess Lunavelle. She's the head lady in charge there.
I saw it. Don't worry. We're good.
Yeah. She'll take that as a term of endearment for sure. But like, it's not just like the Just Solds just listed. It's like personal content, personal stories, philosophies, like case studies. It's not like, here's what closing costs mean. Like nobody, like you can Google that. You know what I'm saying? So it's like providing real value, getting people to know me, to like me, and then to trust me.
That's huge. And listen, I want to end it with this. So I want to ask you this last question, and take your time, think about it.
I'm
You're
ready.
good to go. So my last question is this. For people that don't know you, and people that meet you for the first time, what do you want them to know about you?
Okay. So I really care about my clients' lives. Like this is from a business perspective. Like buying a house for my husband and I when we first bought our house, like we had like two nickels to rub together. Like it was a big purchase. It was uncomfortable. But it was more than just like, this is the amount of money for us, and I understand that from like a wholehearted perspective when I work with my clients, that it's not about like me collecting a commission check. Like, yes, this is how I provide for my family, but I want my clients to have the best experience, and I want them to move forward in their life, because that's what this is about. It's not about like we were talking me buying a fancy car or a purse or something. It's about me feeling really good that I helped these people achieve a goal that they've had for themselves and their family.
Thank you very, very much. Listen, this is the Early Birds podcast, and this is the type of human being that you want to put yourself in front of. You got a lot more stories, and I'd love to have you on again. Ashley with Higher Living, she is the principal broker owner And her mindset is something very special and extraordinary because she's able to do it all, and she does not give excuses for what she does not accomplish because it's all in her hands and nobody else's. So I challenge you guys to ask yourself this question. Are you making excuses, or are you providing a path and giving others permission to do some extraordinary and incredible things? I appreciate you more than you know.
Thank
you so much for being part of this podcast and being here so early on a Saturday. Thank you.
Thanks for having me.
Of course.